Hello, everyone. Good to see you all here. I'm Kiva from Kocharya. Welcome to the Future of Coaching webinar with our co-founder Ram. Before we get into the details of today's webinar, it would be great to hear from you all on where you're joining us from. If you could use the chat box and you could share with us which part of the world you're joining us from today. Malaysia, Hyderabad, USA, Austria. Wow, all over the world. Wonderful. So welcome again. And before we get started today, and I hand over I request Ram to take over, I'm going to just take a minute to share with you all a bunch of courses that we have lined up for you. And if any of these courses interest you, if you want to know more about them, you can write to us at contact@kocharya.com. Yamini from our team is the moderator for the chat box, and I'll just request her to share the details with everybody on the chat box. So this month, we have 3 really exciting courses coming up. On the 29th of June, we have a coaching foundation course. So if you are somebody who'd like to kickstart your coaching foundation journey, this is a good opportunity for you. And you can write to us to know more about this. On the 24th of June, we have an advanced coaching course coming up with Drevan. If you have already completed ACC or your ACC training, this is a course that might interest you. So once again, you can connect with us for this. And lastly, we have a course for the team coaching certification on the 22nd of June with Smita from our team and Ujwal. So this is a course, if you are an ACC, a PCC, and an MCC, you can apply for this certification. And team coaching is one of the fastest growing disciplines in the coaching profession. So this is a great opportunity for you to grab this certification as well. And also please note that if you are interested in applying and you don't have any of the credentials right now, but you've completed your ACC training, you can still go ahead and apply for the systemic team coaching course that's happening on the 22nd. So lastly, today Ram is going to do a session, a live coaching demo with all of us on the sensory coaching, on sensory awareness coaching. And in the coming months, we are also planning a bunch of wellness related programs, and Ram would share a few more details about them in just a while. So I hope you all enjoy the session today. Let's keep the chat box buzzing. If you have any questions or comments, you can write to all of us there. So I welcome Aarti as well today, who's joined us as a client. Thank you, Aarti, for taking the time out. And over to you now, Ram.
Yeah, thanks, Kiva. And thanks, Aarti, for joining us and consenting to be the client in this particular demonstration. So in a sense, I mean, those of you in the audience now, it's not just a demonstration with Aarti today that I would be doing this work, but also would invite all of you to join, because this is something which can be done in a group format, and it's possible that some of you, if not all, would be able to benefit from it, because I have done it a number of occasions in larger groups, done it in training programs, and of course have been doing this for several years now in an individual one-on-one format. So I'll take roughly about 10 minutes or so to just set the background. We in Kocharya talk a lot about the systemic work. And pretty much in all of what we talk about, most of the understanding is that the system moves outwards from where we are, and which is correct. This is a famous Kurt Lewin's OD circle, 3 parts, interacting, connected, the self, the individual, the others, the team, and the larger system, which is the organization. And in OD work, for those of you who are familiar, there's a great amount of work that's been done on the self. Most of the work, at least that I have read, in OD comes from more a cognitive interpretation. And that is because the whole thing is externally focused. It's about how that systemic work applies to in a larger sense to the organization, how the individual impacts the organization, how the organization and others in the team impact the individual. What I am going to do now is to work in a sort of the reverse way. Is there another system which is internal? And the fact is there is. And the internal system is really what drives us and which affects the external system. Everything that happens in the external system is a result of what happens in the internal system. And very often we use words like somatic, ontological, emotional, multiple words for all this. And all these are correct. And they have some basis. But very simply, from a neuroscience perspective, I'm trying to reduce it to the most basic common denominator, as it were, is that whenever we experience something, the first responders in our system to that experience is our sensory system, which consists of the 5 senses. And we know from neuroscience that there are brain sensors at different parts of the brain which work on these 5 senses of sight, sound, etc. And that is the metadata, that's the raw data that comes in with us, uncorrupted, authentic, true data. And this is experienced by us in the body. And we know that. It's not that this is not known. And we have known it for a long, long time, 5,000 years ago, in fact, from the Upanishad. The next level, this metadata moves to the central part of the brain, popularly known as the limbic brain, especially first to the hippocampus, where there's a memory storage with which it is compared, the data is compared, and then it moves to the thalamus, hypothalamus, amygdala, etc., where it's labeled as an emotion. And that's a secondary data. And the secondary data is, of course, important. But the secondary data, which can be measured today by instruments, and I have done some of that work, putting a skull cap on, being checked. And that gives you certain additional information. But we need to know that this emotion data is a derived data. It's not the original metadata. So it's likely to be less authentic because it's influenced by the memories that we have. And they are very powerful. So these are conditioned, and therefore the emotion is tinged with the conditioned memories, especially of the negative memories that we have. And at the third level, this data, emotional data, goes to the frontal part of the brain, where it is processed cognitively as thoughts, which then influences the rest of our system through the what's called the pituitary, adrenaline, that kind of a system. So it drives us into action. And I mean, if you have any basic understanding of neuroscience, you know that this is, in a sense, this tertiary derived data. And it's mostly, I would like to use deliberately this word, it's corrupted data, because it's not authentic. It's already changed from the metadata of sensory information to the emotional information to the cognitive information. And so very often when we work as coaches with clients and we ask them the standard question that fulfills all our competency, understanding, etc. So what do you think about it? And we are very proud that we are asking what is called a who question. Even though it starts with a what, that doesn't matter. What are you thinking about it? And very often, and if it is put in a different format, we call it an ontological question. But the fact remains, the answer to that is still cognitive. And it's never going to be authentic. It's never going to be, yeah, you may go within yourself, you may inquire, you can do multiple other things. But as long as you are in the cognitive space, you're not really reaching anywhere near being level. So the simple fact that I want to put forward to all of you, and you may dispute this, but you'll have to really check for yourself, that whatever you have experienced, whatever your memories are, and whatever you consider to be your emotions are, these influence these kind of ontological questions and ontological answers as well. But when we go into something deeper, emotions, it's a little bit more authentic. And we go even deeper when we go into the somatic aspect of it. Then in that case, we really reach the metadata. And this is what I call the sensory awareness data. And when we have the sensory awareness data, you're not doing any kind of corruption. You're not doing any fiddling with that data. It's as authentic as it can get. And that is what I'm hoping that you will be able to see for yourself today and listen, and in whatever way you feel about it. And after this short demonstration, as it were, maybe it'll take about 15 minutes, 20 minutes. It's totally up to Aarti. It depends on how it goes. And to be very honest with you, I've had absolutely no discussion with her about the process, except just to say that, look, is it okay for you to be asked questions about whatever sensation that may arise within you, and are you willing to share? And she said, yes. And I have no idea about what she's going to talk about, what her issues are. And this is another point that I want to bring to you. Yeah, we all are brought up on the competency models of agreement, and we need to know what is the outcome in the session, why it is meaningful, what will be the evidence, what are the challenges, etc., etc. I agree, it's extremely important from a coaching perspective, but it's important from the client's perspective. The coach doesn't need to know anything about it. And that is what I want to demonstrate to you. I have no idea about what Aarti's issues are. I have no idea about what the challenges are. And I'm not even going to ask her any of those. We are going to just dive in. Based on the fact that I know that whatever she is going to talk about is something that she wants to be coached upon, something that she wants to unpack, that's something she wants to empower herself by letting go. And that is enough for me. And therefore, this is probably a completely different way of approaching coaching, where multiple hours of discussion can be reduced to a few minutes of inquiry and exploration. And then you can make up your own mind as to how you might like to use this yourself. And this is something which we want to propagate in a much larger thing, because I have done this work for a long time now as part of spiritual work, spiritual healing, and then as part of coaching as well. And I'm not saying this is replacing any of the competencies, but it doesn't necessarily require very often the coach saying, I need to understand. You don't need to understand anything at all. You can go not knowing right through the coaching journey. And somebody just a couple of days ago mentioned to me a conversation of someone that happened on one of the WBEX pre-summit conversation, a French man talking to a Spaniard, one speaking in French and another in Spaniard. And it was an amazing conversation. And I can fully understand that because it's purely energy-based and it's on body language. Here, of course, there is a certain requirement that I'm using English as a common medium to be able to go there. So the results are going to be probably more accurate in that sense, and probably more productive, hopefully. And what I would invite you at this point in time, I'm quite happy to answer any question that you have at the end of it, probably some more sessions that we are planning on this subject. But what I would like you to do is to participate in this yourself. So I'm going to do it in two parts. First, what I would call generally, let me go back a little bit. A client approaches the coach in a disempowered state because they have not been able to achieve what they want, or they want to get rid of something that is not quite right with them. They are in discomfort. And so in order to empower them, I would like to, my experience tells me that it is good for them to be first in a position of empowerment itself before they start talking about the disempowered situation. So the first part of this process would be to take Aarti, as well as every one of you who would like to participate in this, just go through the guided part that I'm going to do now and feel empowered, feel completely in control, centered, whatever word you want to use. And then the second part of it would be explore into something which is disempowering, a trauma that one would like to get rid of. So it may be different for you from what Aarti is expressing, but that doesn't matter. You can go into yourself, and if there's anything that is bugging you, which has been keeping you awake, something that you would like to get rid of, even if it's a residual memory, you can follow that process and see for yourself, does it work for you? So this would be a very powerful self-coaching exercise as well. So we will start, as is often said, without much ado. And there has been enough of ado up to this point in time. So happy. Yeah, you can unmute yourself because right at this point in time, you may not have to say anything. But so what I would request you to do is this, and with your permission, I'm going to take you through an exercise which is, might call it a visualization, but essentially one of helping you center in a place where you feel powerful, joyful, in control, whatever that word that you want to use. I simply use the word empowered. Is that okay with you?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So if you could just for a moment close your eyes and take a few deep breaths, and I would encourage all in this audience to do that as well. Take a deep breath, inhale deeply from as low as possible from your navel. Hold that breath for a few seconds. Exhale very slowly. And hold that breath. And just repeat it a few times till you feel very comfortable. And rest your arms on your lap. Rest your feet firmly on the ground. And put the first two fingers of your hands, both hands together. But you can see this like this. Okay, it's a sensory anchor. Just put the two fingers together wherever you are resting your hands at this point in time. And so for all of you, it enables you to come back to this state very quickly after you have gone through this exercise. So with your eyes closed, having gone through this breathing, please visualize a situation which has made you very happy and you're feeling completely in control. You're feeling energized. And visualize this to the extent that you can as a picture, if not in words, whichever way it works for you. And if it's a picture in as large a field as you can expand it to, almost like a football field. And a movie picture, if you like, a video, not a static photo. And there are many others there who are all appreciating you, validating you, being joyful with you, interacting with you. So this is a scene where you are collectively with a large number of people. You are experiencing very positive sensory experiences, visually, auditorily, kinesthetically, and perhaps otherwise from taste and smell as well. Just stay there in that space, expanding your visual field, multicolors, multi-sensations, whatever is happening within you, let it happen. You're feeling good. You're feeling energized. Hopefully your body is telling you all that as well. At this point in time, when you're at the peak of this experience, just press the fingers that you are putting together as firm as possible so that this memory of this wonderful sensory experience of your being joyful, empowered, in control, appreciated, validated, is firmly anchored in your body system. Just stay there for some seconds so that this is anchored as deeply as possible with it. And I'm hoping everybody else in this audience, in this hall, is doing the same thing. So gently, Aarti, if you could just release your fingers, the pressure on your fingers, and look down a bit and open your eyes. Just tell me, how do you feel at this point in time?
I'm feeling quite overwhelmed, to be honest. I'm feeling there was a bit of a, I don't know, there's like a bit of a lightness as well, but like my hands are feeling slightly light, and I think some tears did well up, and it feels fulfilling. Like it feels happy, safe, feels good.
Great. So you feel that you are in a safe space, you are feeling good, you're feeling happy. So overall, it's a good feeling.
Yes,
So
very
now-
positive.
Positive, okay. The word that I use technically is empowered. That's okay. So whatever that word is. So do me a favor, if you could just get up and take a few steps and come back and sit where you are. Just flex yourself, and even others who are listening to this, if you want to do that, please do that. It's up to you, so that it gives you a kind of change of position, as it were, and it does help. Yeah. So when Aarti gets back to her seat, we will go through the second part of the exercise. Yeah, Aarti. What happened? You went to quieten the dog, is it?
I thought I'll take the opportunity.
He or she is inside with you. Okay. Great. Okay, so now to the second part, the more relevant part as far as our conversation is concerned. So I want you to think about whatever it is, and I don't know the details, and I don't need to know the details, but whatever it is that may be in some way disempowering you, an emotional trauma that has happened maybe sometime past, which is still having its residual effects on you. Is there something like that you can think of, and which would be valuable for you to let go? Okay, so that's all that I need to know, that you have a specific issue to talk about, that which is bothering you, which has some value in letting go, and therefore the end point of the outcome of the session would be that once you let go, you will be in a more positive space than where you are now at this point in time. So that is good enough an agreement for me to start with you. I don't need to know anything more. So what I would like you to do now is, again, it may be useful for you, but it's not absolutely necessary for you to just close your eyes to make the visualization powerful. And also to be able to feel your body. I would like you to focus on your body as you are experiencing this. I would like you to go into this experience, whatever that caused you this trauma, whatever that was disempowering you. And Adi, you need to unmute yourself because I would need some answers from you.
Yes.
Yeah, so please, sorry to bother you with that, but go deep into this experience. And as you start feeling something reflecting in your body space, especially between your throat to, let's say, the lower abdomen area, in the thoracic, and slightly lower down. And if you can tell me, is there anything that you experience at this point in time as you are reliving this event, which has been traumatic for you emotionally?
I think the first thing I'm feeling is my throat feels dry. I feel a bit of a shallowness, sort of, in a bit of hollowness rather, in the pit, like right below the chest. A little empty, sort of a tingling. Yeah, that's what I feel right now.
Okay, as you are experiencing this, is there something more that is coming up for you? This tingling, the pit just below the chest area, does it have a particular shape or structure? Is there a color to it? You said it's tingling. Is it painful? Is it moving? Is it stationary? Anything that you can add to it to expand on the sensory feeling.
The colors, there's not one color. The colors that are coming are pink and blue and black. These are the colors that are coming. A bright pink, actually. And it's from the chest, I can feel it down to the stomach. Like that's where I can feel this sort of hollowness, like I said.
Okay. So this hollowness and spreading from the chest to the stomach, in what way is it discomforting you?
I think it's also making me breathe faster than I would. I can feel that it's upsetting me, sort of.
Okay. So as you're experiencing it now, is it expanding? Is it just the same? What's happening with it as you watch it, as you observe it?
As I observe it, I think I can see that it's turning into an emotion. It's not just a sensory feeling alone. I can feel that it is bringing out some emotion that can be expressed. That's how it's sort of amplifying.
Would you like to label that emotion?
But it's not just one, though. That's okay. It can be more than one.
Sure, of course it can be. Yeah.
Okay, I can feel anger, definitely. I
Right.
also feel disappointment.
Yeah.
I feel sadness, sorrow, a lot of sorrow.
Yeah.
These are the three primary emotions.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for being with me and sharing. I don't want to put you through this as an uncomfortable state. Yeah. And we can always go through it again. This is just more to understand that you are able to experience it, and I can work with you in much more greater detail. So at this point in time, what I would like you to do is to take a deep breath, exhale powerfully. And do it a few times, maybe loudly if you can. Like if you're familiar with the Bhastrika in yoga, in pranayama. Is that making you, what change is it causing you, this inhaling and deep exhalation?
I think I feel like a sort of a release of more of the negative emotion.
Yeah.
Like a little less of the disappointment that I was feeling before, or the anger that I was feeling. Definitely lesser.
Good. So now, can you just put your fingers together, press them hard.
Yes.
At the same time, breathe deeply. You don't have to exhale so hard, but just breathe deeply and just keep pressing your fingers and stay with it for the next maybe 10, 15 seconds. Yeah, you can relax now. So just tell me, where are you now?
I think physically, I mean, it's there. I can feel a bit of it, but that hollowness is lesser. In terms of colors, I don't see the black anymore, but the pink and the blue are there. And that whole thing that welled up, it seems to have mellowed a little.
So if you would like, if you want to lessen that and make more of the brighter colors, maybe, whatever, just again, keep your fingers pressed, do a bit of exhalation, inhalation. Watch your body sensations. And as you're going through it, is there any shift in terms of the emotions that you're feeling?
think I think as a default, or maybe as usually what happens with me is, in such a situation, my happy memories come out. So I can feel that in my mind, in my brain, in my heart, the positive memories are coming, sort of to protect me or to make me feel better, to strengthen me, to empower me. I can feel that that is happening right now.
Okay. So, okay, now just relax. Now we are out of this sensory part of the experiencing. So at the end of it, going back to what you just experienced in 2 stages, what is it that you are learning about your own self? What happened just now for you from an emotional perspective or even a cognitive perspective? What really are you understanding more about whatever the experience that you went through and how you feel about it now?
I think what I'm understanding is that, firstly, clearly there is, I mean, I can feel that there is this unhealed part, because I think, feel that it is healed, but clearly it hasn't. And there is a part which is unhealed inside of me. And I think it's very, like it sort of, I don't always consciously make an effort to 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 change it or to heal it, but today, like right now, even with the breathing, I could feel that it was, it helped. Even, just 5, 6 inhalations and exhalations, they did make me feel better. And a sort of, uh, like a sort of, how do you say, like a sort of happiness. It felt like a release, like some, like I had said, that some disappointment or some anger left me. And I felt like, maybe it left me for good, some of it.
Okay. We can find it out maybe tomorrow, day after, can get together. But the point is, when you are saying that, happy memories or whatever, I don't see a happiness in your face. There is no smile in your face. So you are looking still very serious and sort of troubled. Is that, or how you feel?
No. Maybe facially, but in my brain, the first memory that you asked me to think of, which was empowering for me, that suddenly started maybe as a defense mechanism, maybe how my brain is functioning or has functioned. It suddenly took over, and it was telling me that it's fine. Like with every deep breath I was taking, it felt like it's okay. It's you're fine, you're
Okay.
safe, you're taken care of, you're loved, it's okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, even today, if it's possible for you, and we will have a chat whenever you are ready, give me a call, maybe Friday, we'll talk about it in more detail. I would suggest that you repeat this anchoring process and deep breathing process to this and see, then you will really know whether it's left you or not left you. Okay, so that's a good way of checking it out. Obviously, it is lessened, but has it completely left you? Now, the question that I have for you is, therefore, even if let's whatever it is, I don't want to ask something which is going to trouble you, but the way that you look at whatever the situation was, which caused you all this trauma, the anger, whatever else it was, how are you viewing that situation now?
So the anger it's subdued, but it's there. But I think in the first instant it was pure anger, but slowly it shifted to me also being like questioning myself or being angry about it, in the sense of taking responsibility of whatever maybe didn't go right from my side, like what I should have or shouldn't have said or done. So some rationality sort of came in that emotion, which was purely negative at the beginning. And I think in terms of disappointment, probably right now, I'm not really feeling bad about it somehow. Right now, what I was feeling a few minutes back, I'm not feeling bad about it somehow.
Okay. Okay. Now, these are, these are great learnings, because it's not only that yes, the emotions have reduced in some way, not feeling bad about it, but also you said that you could have done something differently, and therefore, so that might help me in future. And so that's a good thing to sort of move into and think about. So let's stay there for a minute, because some of the audience, I don't know, Kiva, can you please go through the chat box and sort of tell us, are there any questions that
Yes, Ram.
that require to be answered?
Yes, Ram. So Ram, we have one question.
Oh, just one second. Sorry. Before that, I also would like to request the audience, if any of you went through it for yourself during this process, also provide your experiences and what happened. Yeah. Yes, Kim. Yeah.
So you could use the chat box to share your experiences, while I'll just read out the first question. Is any kind of formal education required for having this skill?
No. Common sense. That's about the only thing that you require. And if you're going to use your common sense, first learn how to, because very often people dive into some of these exercises, trying to recover past memories and stuff like that without adequate preparation for the client. So always empower the client first. Vijay is there in this call. Once she told me that you keep using this word empowering, that means that the person is disempowered, and that will be a negative validation. But the fact is, a client comes to a coach with a disempowered condition. So I can't but help say that, look, that's a reality of the situation. But to start with, it's always good in any coaching conversation, irrespective of what it is going to lead to. Empower the client first, ask them to take them through a very, very simple, with their permission. Very often people say that I'm taking you through a centering exercise, whatever that might mean. Don't take them through a centering exercise, take them through an empowering exercise. Simple thing that I did that. It helps them to reframe their position. They come into a joyful position, help them with a sensory anchor, kinesthetic anchor. And then as it unfolds, if at any point in time it's required, you can always help them to do that and do a bit of that deep breathing and powerful exhalation. In yoga terms, and those of you may be familiar, it is called Bhastrika, very powerful inhalation and bursting out, that kind of a stuff. That also helps. So that is all you need to know. But for those who really want to understand the neuroscience behind it, maybe quantum science behind it, and these are things, psychology behind it, I have done a fair amount of work on this. So which is what we are planning to do, Kiva willing. We will offer a program for about 10 sessions of 2 hours each or whatever, where you can have more confidence in terms of doing it. And it is combined with actual meditations, etc. So primarily it's going to be for individual self-coaching, self-cleansing, etc. And then you would also be able to train other people. Anything else that is coming up?
Yes, Ram. Is this process similar to NLP or hypnosis?
No, it has got, for heaven's sake, it's got nothing to do with hypnosis. I stay away from hypnosis, run a mile. It's a most dangerous practice, especially in the hands of people who don't know how to use hypnosis. I'm trained in hypnosis. I don't ever use hypnosis. Taking people to a state where they are not conscious of what they are doing, which I think is against the ethics of, forget about coaching. It's against any ethics of human relations. And not knowing what to do, because I watched on TV some of these demonstrations when the client gets into a deep trouble and they run away. They don't know what to do. It's not that client is going to die, but the trauma gets much more complicated. No. NLP has reframing techniques, but if you know about NLP, I'm a master practitioner in NLP, and just, I could train if I want to, but in NLP, it takes you through, the practitioner doesn't want to know what's happening out there, like in a coaching situation, or the reframing situation sort of physically takes you back into that, or not physically, mentally take you back into that scene, the 6-step reframing technique, etc., those kind of stuff, or even timeline therapy, for example. I have used timeline therapy extensively. I've used code transformation extensively, but I find this is far simpler. It's far superior, and in a much shorter period. You just saw in a period of about 15, 20 minutes. And of course, it's almost like laser coaching, but like in any coaching, the neural network changes are going to take time. So that requires repetition. So the anchoring needs to be reinforced. So this is why I'm inviting Arti for another conversation, and maybe after some time. So you need to do it. The process, look, this is something I don't know. In case of Arti, how long have you had this, and what other kind of interventions have you tried before this?
How long have I had this trauma?
Yeah.
In about 2.5 years that it's been, I think there were many triggers and stuff, but it's been 2.5 years that it sort of took like a proper shape, and it came to a point where I realized that something needs to be done about this. So since the last 2.5 years, I've been actually understanding what it means, and trying to slowly as I go deeper, I realize that there's much more to it.
So have you been in therapy or counseling?
I have done therapy sessions, yes. I have done meditation. I have also got some healings done, pranic healings and cleansings done. And I have done some coaching sort of sessions as well. Not regularly, but yes, definitely since the last 2.5 years, lots.
Yes. Okay. No, I'm not looking for a testimonial, but in relevance to any of the things that you have done before and today, is there a difference?
Maybe at this point, to be honest, I won't be able to say that I feel a huge difference, but I can definitely say that the feeling that this experience has left me with is very different from what a usual therapy session would have left me with. Definitely. Like
And
the
what is
feeling,
that
what
difference? Okay.
the difference is that usually after a therapy session, I'm more in a doubtful or a questioning sort of a thought where I'm still pondering, thinking. Right now, I feel peaceful. I feel peaceful. I feel in control. I feel that, like I said, that it's okay. I think that's the biggest difference.
Yeah. Okay, so I mean that's I totally agree with you. Nothing is one shot. It's not putting a switch on and off. It's been there for a while, 2.5 years, as you said. I worked with people who've been for 10, 15 years in therapy, and they saw the similar kind of shift like you have had, and then practicing it more. And very often after that, I haven't had to interfere. They self-coached themselves, repeated this process, and they felt much better. There are meditation techniques which can help tremendously. We will go through that. I'll take you through that. In fact, I went through with Kiva, maybe nothing as serious as what you faced, but she had a similar experience. So yeah, are there any other questions? Is there anybody else who has tried it, and have they felt anything while I was working with Aarti? Did they have any experience?
Nobody has mentioned.
Okay, I'm seeing George Armstrong. It's a challenge to ignore the cognitive negative attack in order to transition to visualizing a positive mindset. We are not ignoring, George, any cognitive negative attack. The cognitive negative attack itself is a fantasy. It's an illusion. And this is available if you go deeper into it in neuroscience today. There have been several experiments that have been done where the left brain information is fallacious. And the left brain is primarily responsible for all your cognition in terms of details. And this is proven by neuroscience. So it's a half-baked kind of understanding that, I'm not saying it with any disrespect, but I think, Kiva, I sent you recently an article, which quotes, I don't know, maybe when you can, maybe you can post that on the website. There's a corpus callosum, which separates your right and left brain. The right brain, let's say we all know that if you're right-handed, if your right brain is the less cognitive, the more holistic kind of brain, and the left brain is a more detailed cognitive kind of brain. And when there is an impairment, and either left works alone or the right works alone or disjointedly, experiments have been done, and this is proven beyond doubt. If you ask a person who is disjointed and whose left side is working and not the right side, ask them to draw a tree. And you will find they're able to only draw individual leaves unconnected. It's horrible. It's weird. It's frightening. And if you ask the person who is right-brained alone, then it'll be just a blob of green or something like that. There will be no details on it. And that is how they work. It's only when they come together, then you are able to draw a proper tree. I'm making it very simple. But if you have any basic understanding of neuroscience 101, you'll be able to find this. There's a lot of this stuff which is coming up here.
Yeah.
Question is,
Yes, Ram, there are also two comments from people who tried. So Anuja shared that the exhalation process was powerful. I felt a heaviness on my shoulders. Priya has shared, I felt tired, drained and a big rock on my shoulders expanding bigger and bigger.
No, Priya, did it get better or not? Because if at the end of it, if you tried it and the rock was settling down more heavily upon you, then it's a negative. So anyway,
There are a couple of questions.
Yes.
So now there's a question which is, what do the colors signify? How can we as coaches?
No, she said got bigger initially and meant. Okay, yeah, sorry. What were you saying, Kiba?
Yes, the question is, what do the colors signify? How can we as coaches use these colors?
No, I don't want to tell you that, okay? They signify something, but let the client interpret it. The coach is not, whatever the correct word is, the person who makes a diagnosis here. You are not here as a doctor, and that is why it is not therapy. It is for the client to interpret what it is. But yes, the colors do mean something. Where the sensation happens means something. And I do not want to sort of expand on those in a webinar of this type, because it can lead to misuse and misinterpretation. You need to understand it far more. I'm not being evasive, but those of you who are really interested, we are planning to run this program in a much deeper level for people who really want to seriously work on this. Because, look, and we're not going to do it for revenue growth or whatever it is. There is a scheme that we are planning where the more number of people join, the less expensive it will be. The whole idea is that there is a way to coach differently. Now, somebody asks, is this a coaching process? Of course it is. You are not telling the client what to do. You're not doing therapy. You're not leading the client. All that you're doing is the exploration of the who of the client as needs to be done in a coaching session. You're doing it in a way that there's no great conversation about it. There's no cognitive explanations about it. And it's purely a sensory kind of experience. So in fact, it's a far better coaching because there's no confidential information that's coming out and the coach has to be careful about. There's extreme privacy. None of you know, I don't know, you don't know anything about what happened to Aarti. All that you know about is that she came with a problem and the problem got resolved. Is that what you want to do as a coach? That's your decision to take. Or do you want to be a voyeur? Oh, I need to know everything about the client. Why the devil do you want to know anything about the client, for heaven's sake? I have demonstrated a model to you, and I'm willing to do it with any one of you who wants to do it. Please send your information to kiva@kocharya.com or support@kocharya.com. And I would like to do it openly, publicly, so that people gain the confidence of it. Because I have done this with literally maybe thousands of people. And I'm very, very confident about what I'm doing here, and which is within absolutely all coaching ethics. Of course, it's different from the way that coaching is done. And therefore, this is something which we are working on in Kocharya to democratize coaching so that anybody can coach themselves. And maybe there are extreme cases. I completely agree. There are cases where you would need another person to help you. In this particular case, Aarti was very clear about what she wanted to get done. But if she wasn't clear, the outcome wasn't clear, the goal itself was not clear, the problem itself was not clear, then you would need another person's help to be able to discover that. So the agreement process would be slightly different, which would require a more traditional approach. But what I am demonstrating in Kocharya, we call it the double hourglass model. The first hourglass is really from a divergent kind of problem areas that the client has, like Aarti talked about multiple emotions. Then you come to something which you want to resolve. The client selects what is it. We didn't go through all that. Basically, the simple question that I asked her was, do you have an issue to resolve? Do you know what will happen at the end of it? How would you feel about it? What is it? Do you know whether it's important for you? That was enough for me. That's okay. The coach doesn't have to know. I'm not sitting for an ICF examination for an assessor's test. Okay. But the second hourglass is what I'm focusing on. The second hourglass is exploring into the limiting beliefs or what is happening. And here we are doing it sensorily, somatically, as well as ontologically, because it's coming from the sensory, the deepest being level. Ontology means being, and the being is not in the brain. The being is in the body, the intelligence of the body. You have, on an average, like a 6-footer like I am, 100 trillion cells, each one with a mitochondrial intelligence. As opposed to it, I have 10 billion brain cells. You can, 10 billion to 100 trillion is the difference. And that is the intelligence we are not using. So what you are trying to do here is to expand that little bit of the 10 billion cells, within that, just the frontal cortex, whatever number of reduced billions there are. Instead of using that intelligence, you're using the totality of the 100 trillion cells intelligence, if you want to put it from a neuroscientific point of view. So these are some of the details that you can really do. I'm very open to having this conversation with any one of you who is suffering from some kind of trauma experience, and you want to, so you're open to doing this like Aarti did today. I'm so extremely grateful to you, Aarti, for coming up and volunteering. I have talked to a couple of people who are willing to do that as well. But any of you are willing, please come. And please be assured that this doesn't in any way negatively affect the client. And if you're able to point out to me, if it does, I'll be most grateful. Then I can change the process. But with my experience of a few thousand people with whom I have worked in my spiritual path, healing, and as a coach for 10 years now, I haven't found a single case where it has had any negative effect. So that's all I would like to end up with. Yeah, so Bonnie and others, whoever wish to, please just mail Kiwa, Kiwa @kocharya.com or support@kocharya.com. And we'll fix up sessions over a period of time to be able to do it, because our interest is to make this known. It's not a secret. This is not something we want to make money on. We would like as many people as possible to be able to use it for their self-coaching effect. Okay. And in fact, one of the things that I'm planning to do next month around this time, I would be having a discussion with Varun Soni, who is the Dean Provost of University of Southern California. And he tends to a flock of about 100,000 people as a religious chaplain. And one of the things we discussed about was how loneliness, apart from what the Surgeon General has said in the United States, is the single biggest factor which is affecting young people, the Gen Z, 18 to 25. And he on his own said that I think we have tried counseling, therapy, none of it works. And I would like to try coaching. Do we have a solution? And so that is what we are going to talk about. So yeah, we'll talk about it. I would like this to change the way we coach. Instead of transactional coaching, which 80% of the time is what is done, can you truly get into transformational coaching? Okay. So that's a whole idea of doing this. Thank you very much. We are pretty much there. Aarti, is there anything else that you want to say? And Kiva, then you can close the session.
No.
Pradeep Mukerjee says, does it work largely for someone who has suffered a severe emotional? No, not at all, Pradeep. Just the other day, I worked with someone. What was the issue? It was something very, very simple about some minor invalidation about something, whatever it is, that was causing a lot of anxiety. But just going into the somatic experience to resolve it. Of course, it's tremendously powerful in emotional traumas, but it can work on any situation. Because at the end of the day, a client, if it's not an imaginary hallucinatory reason that the client is coming to you for, and no paid client will ever come to you for that reason and pay you good money for it. They're coming to you for a reason because they are affected. There's something that is bugging them and they're not able to resolve it themselves. Any of those situations can be better addressed through a somatic approach. But as you saw yourself, that relates to the emotional labeling, which Aarti did. I could have taken her further into the cognitive kind of explanation, which I didn't, except for the learnings be done. Yes, it can be done in a larger session, but here the purpose was to just demonstrate how the sensory awareness works. Sorry, Aarti, I cut you off.
Oh, nothing. I'm really grateful for your time, Ram, and I'm sorry for the dogs. And I can just say that this time leaves me.
I love dogs, by the way, so it's okay. Don't worry about it.
Okay, that's good. This time with you today just leaves me more aware about myself, and I'm thinking that it's going to help in my journey ahead. So thanks a lot, and thank you everybody for your time.
Yeah, just for information, Aarti is will be training as to be a coach, so it helps us as well. So anyway, I mean, give me a call on Friday and let's catch up at least in terms of where you are and how it is. Kiva, yeah, can go ahead and close.
Thank you so much, Aarti, for taking the time out for this and for being vulnerable. I think you saw a lot of messages on the chat box, like really admire your courage. Thank you so much. And thank you, Ram, for again an insightful session. And I'm sure for the coaching community and for people who are beginning to understand this, they'd want to know more. There are still a lot more questions on the chat box and on the Q&A. So we made a note of these and we'll also download them and we'll share them with you. And if we could answer some of those questions, we'll share it, the answers with the people who've joined us today.
Yeah, if there are specific questions, I'll positively answer that. Send them to me and
Sure.
we can put into our blog and do that. Yeah.
Certainly.
And thank you all. Thank you all for being here. And some of you who have already said that you would like to be coached, we will certainly take you up on that. And I'm more than willing to devote as much time as is needed for this purpose. And yes, we will also be planning something as a short program where this could be of help to those who would like to do it on a regular basis in coaching. Okay. Thanks.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Aarti.
Thank
Thanks,
you all.
Kiva.
Thank you so
Wonderful.
much.
Take care.
For any queries, please feel free to write to us, or you can write to me directly as well at kiva@kocharya.com and we'll help you out. So thank you so much, everyone. See you all next Wednesday. Bye, Ram. Bye, Aarti.
Bye. Take care. Bye-bye.